I worked at our local community center about 10 years ago. It was a nice place where people from the neighborhood would come to hang out, play pool, enjoy board games, and sip tea. We had one computer that anyone could use for free. This was important since many regulars didn't have internet at home or smartphones yet. Most people used it for quick things, checking emails, paying bills online, or looking up information. Everyone was considerate about sharing it. That changed when this one guy started coming in regularly. From day one, he was trouble. This guy would show up when we opened, plug in his headphones, and take over the computer. He'd spend the entire day watching Beyoncé music videos, occasionally touching himself inappropriately and laughing an annoying laugh that sounded like Beavis and Butthead from that old cartoon. All day long. What made it worse was how he acted when anyone asked to use the computer. We had this older woman who came in once a week to pay her electric bill online. She asked him if she could use the computer for just a few minutes to pay her bill before it was due. He told her that he was using it and she should come back later. When she explained that she only needed about 5 minutes, he said it wasn't his problem and mentioned something about first come, first served. Then he turned back to his videos, ignoring her. This happened all the time and people got frustrated. I went to my manager about it. I told him this was becoming a real issue because he was hogging the computer all day, preventing people who needed it from using it. My manager told me to just leave it alone because he didn't want any trouble. When I pointed out that he was preventing other clients from using our resources, my manager said the guy hadn't broken any rules, so we couldn't kick him out for using the computer. The situation got worse. The computer hog became bolder and started getting aggressive when people approached him. One time, a guy in his 60s asked if he could check his email quickly. The computer hog told the older man to back off and that he got there first, so the older man should wait his turn. When the older man said he'd been waiting for over 3 hours, the computer hog said it wasn't his problem and told him to get out of his face. The manager still wouldn't do anything. He was scared of confrontation and kept telling us to leave the situation alone. It was frustrating. Then, a week after being told not to challenge this guy, I got a new computer for my apartment. While setting it up, I had this moment of clarity. I realized how easy it was to enable and disable a sound card through the computer settings. That's when I made my plan. The next morning, I arrived at work about 30 minutes early. I went to the community center computer and disabled the sound card through the system settings. I made sure everything else worked perfectly. The internet, the keyboard, the mouse, just no sound output. When the computer hog arrived and settled in for his daily Beyoncé marathon, I watched from the reception desk. He plugged in his headphones, clicked on a video, and then started frantically adjusting the volume controls. After a few minutes of clicking and tapping, he walked over to me. He told me that the sound wasn't working. I said that was strange, since it had been working fine yesterday. He told me to fix it, but I said I didn't know what was wrong and suggested that maybe it was his headphones. He said his headphones were working fine. I shrugged and said I didn't know what to tell him since I wasn't a computer technician. He stormed out. About 20 minutes later, he returned with a brand new pair of expensive-looking headphones, still in their packaging. He made a show of opening them and plugging them in. I could barely keep from smiling as I watched him realize that these headphones weren't working either. He started yelling about how the headphones were brand new and he'd just spent $50 on them, saying the problem was with our computer. I maintained my act, saying I really didn't know how to fix computer issues and suggested he try watching something else. That was when he lost it. He jumped up, rushed over to me, and grabbed me by my shirt collar, pulling me halfway across the reception desk. He told me to fix it immediately. That finally crossed the line for my manager, who came running out of his office when he heard the noise. My manager told the computer hog to let go of me right away, calling it assault. The computer hog complained that our computer was broken and nobody was doing anything about it. My manager said he didn't care and that the computer hog couldn't put his hands on staff members. He told the computer hog to leave immediately as he was now banned from the center. When the computer hog said we couldn't ban him from a public place, my manager told him that actually he could ban him and was doing so. He threatened to call the police if the computer hog didn't leave right away. The computer hog let go of my shirt, knocked over a chair, and walked out shouting threats and insults. The next morning I went in early again and re-enabled the sound card. Everything went back to normal. Our regular clients were able to use the computer when they needed it, and the community center became peaceful again. No one ever figured out what I did, they all just thought the computer had a temporary glitch that fixed itself. I never felt good enough for my mother. I walked on eggshells, trying to anticipate her moods and needs, always falling short somehow. If I got an A minus instead of an A, I'd hear about it for weeks. If I cleaned the house but missed a spot, she'd focus only on what I'd done wrong. Nothing was ever good enough for her, and I never felt good enough either. By the time I was 16, I was running the household. I'd come home from school, start dinner, clean up, and try to squeeze in homework whenever I could. My mother worked late most days, which was almost a relief because it meant fewer hours of walking on eggshells. That Tuesday started like any other day. I came home from school, dropped my backpack by the door, and headed to the kitchen. I decided to make hamburgers for dinner. Simple, filling, and usually acceptable to my mother. I shaped the patties, prepared the toppings, and set everything on the counter so dinner would be ready when she got home. With dinner prepped, I went upstairs to tackle my algebra homework. About an hour later, I heard the front door slam. My stomach knotted up. That slam meant she was in a mood. I heard her yelling from downstairs, demanding to know what the garbage was that I had prepared for dinner. I put down my pencil and took a deep breath before heading downstairs. As soon as I entered the kitchen, she started in on me. My mother complained about the hamburgers, asking if I was trying to make her fat. Her tone was harsh. I tried to defend myself by reminding her that she had liked the hamburgers I made the previous week. I mentioned that she had said they were good. She told me she didn't want hamburgers tonight. She explained that she'd had a terrible day at work where her boss had humiliated her in front of everyone. She insisted that she deserved better than what she called fast food garbage when she came home. I tried to keep my voice steady. I offered to make something else if she'd prefer and asked what she would like instead. Her eyes narrowed. She demanded steak, calling it a proper dinner. She asked if that was too much to ask after everything she did for me. I explained that we didn't have any steak in the house. I started to suggest chicken as an alternative, but she cut me off. She screamed the word steak repeatedly, making it clear she wouldn't accept any substitutes. Before I could respond, she grabbed the cast iron skillet I'd used for the hamburgers. It still had hot oil in it from cooking. My heart raced as she swung it around, oil sloshing close to the edges. She ranted about how she worked all day to provide for me and accused me of not being able to make her a decent meal in return. She yanked open the oven door and shoved the entire skillet inside, oil and all. Then she cranked the temperature dial to its highest setting. She demanded that I make her steak dinner immediately. I stood frozen, watching as smoke began to curl out from the oven door. Within seconds, flames erupted inside. I warned her about the danger of putting oil in the oven like that. I lunged for the fire extinguisher under the sink, but the flames were spreading too quickly. The kitchen curtains caught fire next, and suddenly half the room was engulfed. My mother blamed me for the fire, shouting that it was all my fault, even though she had started it. I grabbed my phone and dialed emergency services while backing toward the front door. The 911 dispatcher answered, asking about my emergency. I explained that our kitchen was on fire and that it was spreading fast. I gave our address and the dispatcher told me help was on the way. All the while, my mother continued to blame me for the fire she had started. The fire trucks arrived within minutes, sirens blaring. Firefighters rushed in with hoses and equipment, while a police officer led me safely away from the house. Through the chaos, I could hear my mother screaming at the firefighters. She was telling the firefighters that I had started the fire because I was angry she didn't want my hamburgers. The police officer looked at me and asked if what my mother was saying was true. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. I explained what had really happened, that she had thrown a hot skillet of oil into the oven because she wanted steak instead of hamburgers. The firefighters eventually got the blaze under control, but our kitchen and part of the dining room were destroyed. As they checked the damage, one of the firefighters confirmed that the fire had started in the oven, matching my story. The police handcuffed my mother and read her rights. My mother protested the arrest, saying that it was her house. The police officer told her that she was being detained on suspicion of arson and child endangerment. The following months were a blur of social worker visits, court hearings, and temporary living arrangements with my aunt. During the trial, neighbors talked about hearing my mother's frequent screaming fits. My teachers spoke about noticing my anxiety and exhaustion at school. The evidence of years of emotional abuse piled up alongside the arson charge. My mother was sentenced to 18 months in prison and mandatory anger management and therapy. I stayed with my aunt, who showed me what a healthy home environment could actually feel like. When my mother was released, she was different. The therapy had forced her to confront her behavior. She made a public apology during a community restitution event and later a private one to me. She told me that she had spent her life blaming others for her unhappiness, especially me. She said I never deserved any of it. She said she was sorry for what she had put me through and told me she was getting help to make sure she never behaved that way again. It wasn't an instant fix. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly. We started with supervised visits, then occasional dinners, always in public places. Gradually, I could see she was putting in the work to change. She learned to recognize when her anger was rising and had techniques to manage it. 3 years after the fire, I was preparing to leave for college. My mother and I weren't perfect, but we had a relationship I never thought possible. As we packed my belongings, she handed me a small box. She told me it was for my dorm room. Inside was a new fire extinguisher with a note, a reminder that I'll never put you in danger again. It wasn't conventional, but it was sincere. And for the first time in my life, I felt like maybe I was enough. I was the quiet kid in class. You know the type. Sits in the corner, barely speaks, and sometimes people forget I'm even there. I don't mind it. Being invisible has its perks, especially when you can watch everything around you without getting pulled into drama. My economics teacher was something else. Not your typical boring instructor droning on about supply and demand. He was this balding guy in his late 30s or early 40s with energy and a good sense of humor. Unlike other teachers who tried too hard to connect with the youth, he actually understood current memes without making everyone cringe. The students loved him for it, but he had this quirk, a need to always be the smartest person in the room. Not in a mean way, but you could tell he enjoyed showing off his intelligence whenever possible. He wasn't arrogant exactly, just confident in his abilities and not afraid to show it. One Monday morning, we were supposed to be discussing economic policies, but somehow the conversation went off track. It started when a small group of students were talking about their futures before class began. One student was boasting about how they would own a Ferrari by 30. Another talked about their plan to become a top streamer on Twitch and make millions playing video games. That's when our teacher walked in and heard them. He couldn't help himself. He pointed out the harsh realities of their dreams. He explained that the Ferrari would cost a fortune to maintain, and for streaming he warned that the market was full with a high burnout rate. The students looked sad, and one challenged him. They complained about him always ruining their dreams, saying that nothing is impossible if you wish hard enough. This made our teacher bring up wishes and how genies in stories always find ways to twist them. He said there's no such thing as a perfect wish, and just like that, our economics lesson turned into a debate about wishes and loopholes. The teacher became the class genie, challenging everyone to come up with a wish he couldn't twist. One student tried wishing for more wishes. Our teacher quickly said that while they now had 2 wishes left, they would be stuck forever, wanting an infinite amount of wishes and unable to decide. Another student wished to become a top streamer on Twitch. The teacher said streaming would take over their entire life, leaving them with no other skills. He warned that by the time they reached his age, they would realize all they had was streaming and nothing more. No real connections, just viewers who would leave when they weren't entertaining. A third student tried to outsmart him by wishing for no loopholes in their other two wishes. The teacher explained that bad results aren't loopholes, and words can mean different things. Their wish might avoid loopholes, but not reality. This went on for nearly half the class. With each twisted wish, our teacher smiled more while the students felt worse. The classroom felt heavy with defeat. No one could beat the genie. I stayed quiet, happy we weren't doing any actual work, but watching him stand there, so pleased with crushing teenagers' dreams before 10 a.m., something stirred in me. His smile was too smug. The room went silent. No one offered more wishes. Our teacher, looking victorious, scanned the room. He asked for just one more wish to ruin. I slowly raised my hand from my corner desk. He looked surprised. I rarely joined class discussions. He nodded for me to speak. I matched his grin as I clearly said my wish for the teacher to get his hair back. The class burst into laughter. Some students fell out of their chairs. Others held their stomachs, crying with laughter. Even the chatty front row students were howling. Our teacher stood there, opening and closing his mouth. His hand went to his bald head, and his face turned red with embarrassment. After trying to speak several times, he finally said he didn't want to do this anymore. He tried to save the situation by turning it into a lesson about being careful what you wish for and hidden results of our desires. But everyone knew what happened. The genie had been stumped. I never got an official response to my wish. He avoided answering whether it could be twisted or not. But the way other students looked at me afterward made me feel like I'd won something valuable. For the rest of the term, when our teacher got too cocky, someone would mimic combing hair, and he'd tone it down. It became our class joke. And me? I stayed quiet as always, but I wasn't invisible anymore. I was the kid who beat the unbeatable genie with the perfect wish. I'm only 5 feet 5 inches and was never more than 125 pounds in high school. My mother has struggled with her weight since having her first baby. She stands at about 4 feet 8 inches but has always weighed close to 200 pounds. Our family ate out weekly, but until I was around 15, I had to order from the kids' menu for children 12 and under. Once I outgrew that option, I always had to share meals, either with one of my sisters because we were smaller than other kids our age, or with my mother, who claimed it was portion control for her weight loss plans. When I turned 19, I joined the army. Basic training added 11 pounds to my frame, and I gained about 6 more after that, stabilizing at around 142 pounds. The military changed my relationship with food. For the first time, I was eating full adult portions regularly. This incident happened during a visit to my parents after I left the army. They took me out to eat at a local restaurant. As we looked at the menus, my mother asked if I wanted to share some fajitas. I noticed they offered a platter for 2 people, so I agreed. My mother was born in the United States but moved to Mexico when she was young before returning as an adult. Her English has a heavy accent and isn't always perfect. When the waiter came, she pointed at me and told him we would have fajitas and that we would share. The waiter nodded and took the rest of our order. When the food arrived, it was amazing. My mother kept saying how delicious everything was. I agreed they were good, and she told me to try some with the guacamole. Thanks to my military routine of push-ups, sit-ups, and running, I could eat plenty of food. We finished those fajitas completely. I even ate all the grilled vegetables. Nothing remained. Everything was fine until the waiter brought our bill. My mother's expression changed when she saw we'd been charged for the fajitas for 2 platter. My mother said she didn't feel well and thought she ate too much. I told her the food was great. She asked why the waiter couldn't get the order right and if I was okay after eating all that food. I was used to her complaints, so I took it in stride. I told her I was fine and enjoyed the meal. I added that I was glad we got the order for 2 because 1 wouldn't have been enough. My mother said we were being overcharged and she would make it right. The waiter came by and asked if everything was all right. My mother told him she had ordered fajitas for 1 person, not 2. She said he misunderstood her when she said we would share 1 order. She added that her stomach hurt because she ate too much. I wanted to disappear from embarrassment. I kept my head down, unable to look at the waiter. From the few looks I took, I could tell he was confused. He kept looking between my mother and our empty plate. The waiter told her he couldn't offer compensation when the entire platter had been eaten. He pointed out there was nothing left. My mother told him this was unacceptable and asked to speak to the manager. The waiter left to get his manager. A man in a button-up shirt approached our table and asked how he could help. My mother told him again how the waiter had misunderstood her order and how we were being overcharged for food we didn't want. The manager told her he understood, but the platter was completely empty. He said it looked like both of us had enjoyed the meal. My mother told him that wasn't the point and said she was trying to watch her portion size and the waiter had made her overeat. After several more minutes, the manager told her the best he could do was offer 10% off that dish and asked if that was okay. My mother agreed. When the manager left, she was still angry. She asked me in Spanish if I could believe that, and if I thought she was right. I told her no, she wasn't right. I told her I also thought we were ordering fajitas for 2 people. I said that's what I agreed to when she asked if I wanted to share. I added that I enjoyed the meal exactly as it was. She got angry and didn't speak to me for the rest of the meal. That incident happened over 30 years ago, but my mother still brings it up. She uses it as an example of my inability to stick up for myself and my refusal to support her. What she means is that I didn't back up her lie to get a discount on a meal we both enjoyed and finished. Some things never change.